Good old Bonfire Night, a classic British celebration. We all get together every year around a massive bonfire, we drink mulled wine, we eat sausages and we watch fireworks. All in the name of, 400 years ago some guy got caught trying to blow up our parliament. Wait, what? Honestly though, I absolutely love this celebration. It's one of my favourite parts of this time of the year for sure. I love the bonfire, the fireworks, the food, the drinks, the vibe and the history of it all. But it is so random, right? A couple of years ago, my cousin, who lives and has grown up abroad, came with us to a bonfire night here in the UK and she was basically asking what it was all about. And it was only then when she asked me this that I stopped and thought about how random it all is. It's something that we've just grown to accept as a core part of our culture in this country, but it is really random. Fear not though, I am going to bring this all back to Harry Potter and Hogwarts soon, but I am going to do a quick dive into the history of Bonfire Night first because I do think it's really interesting and kind of random. Also, if you're watching this from outside the UK, right, and have no idea what Bonfire Night is, then this is for you. Or alternatively, if you know what it is, or just don't care, feel free to skip the next 2 minutes. I won't hold it against you. Okay, let's go. It's the year 1605 and Catholic muggles in England are being widely oppressed and persecuted by the Protestant rule of King James I. A group of English Catholics spearheaded by Robert Catesby and including the famous Guy Fawkes planned to blow up the Parliament on the 5th of November, which was the date of the state opening of Parliament for that year. They chose this date because it was the state opening of Parliament, so the King and most of the royal family and the ruling classes were going to be there. So they were aiming to wipe out the whole of Parliament and the King in one go. Very ambitious. They wanted to end the Protestant rule of England and replace it with Catholic rule. However, a member of the Catholic group of conspirators leaked the plan to the authorities and Guy Fawkes was caught with 36 barrels of gunpowder inside the cellars underneath the Parliament. Guy Fawkes and all of the other 12 conspirators of the gunpowder plot were caught and they suffered different fates. 4 of them made a final stand and fought to the death. 1 of them was caught and died during his imprisonment, and the remaining 8 were caught and then hung, drawn and quartered, which is honestly really gross. I won't make any AI images of that as it is really grim to be honest, but needless to say, all 13 gunpowder plotters died. Anyway, so that is that. To celebrate the fact that these people didn't succeed in assassinating the king, blowing up the parliament, killing hundreds of people and probably throwing the country into civil war, we light massive fires every year, set off fireworks and eat hot dogs and drink mulled wine. So random. That is the end of the history lesson. Make up your own minds about it, right? But I personally think it's a very interesting story and doubtless Bonfire Night has become a core part of culture in the UK. Who doesn't love a Catherine wheel and a toffee apple? I actually personally hate toffee apples. I hope you enjoyed that, or maybe you didn't and found it more boring than a Professor Binns History of Magic lesson. But either way, let's get back to the important stuff, Harry Potter. The phrase Bonfire Night is only ever mentioned once in all of the Harry Potter books. Can you guess when? If you do know this off the top of your head, then that's very nerdy to be honest, and I think you need to see someone as soon as possible. But I really can't talk now, can I? It's in the first chapter of the very first book, right at the beginning of this wonderful story. It's the night that Lily and James were murdered and Dumbledore drops the baby Harry Potter off at the Dursleys' doorstep. Vernon and Petunia are watching the evening news in the living room, cuddled up with some ice cream and a large brandy probably for Uncle Vernon. Nice and cosy. But if you remember from the books, all evening witches and wizards up and down the country were celebrating the downfall of Voldemort with wizarding fireworks and magical displays in the sky. The Muggle weatherman on the telly comments on this and says, "Viewers as far apart as Kent, Yorkshire and Dundee have been phoning in to tell me that instead of the rain I promised yesterday, they've had a downpour of shooting stars. Perhaps people have been celebrating Bonfire Night early. It's not until next week, folks, but I can promise a wet night tonight." And that is the only time that Bonfire Night is ever mentioned in these books. Okay, so most people probably don't care, and I'm not really that annoyed about it, to be honest, but I just think, so Hogwarts is obviously based in Britain, right? So I think in reality they probably would do a little celebration around Bonfire Night at the school, because they celebrate Halloween, as you will see in my last video, and Christmas, future video incoming. So why not Bonfire Night? They even acknowledge Easter and Valentine's Day, right? So basically to me, it seems that this particular community, being based in Britain, probably just take on the celebrations and festivities from Muggle Britain and then combine it with their own magical traditions and customs. So why would this not be the case for Bonfire Night? Also, it would be a fun opportunity for a celebration. Some of my favourite moments in these books are random little interactions that we get between teachers and students, not necessarily at the big dramatic moments. Don't get me wrong, I love the big dramatic moments as well, but it's these little random moments that we get most of the comedy in these books, in my opinion. Like the Christmas dinner scene in the Prisoner of Azkaban book, or the Death Day party in the Chamber of Secrets book, or the Valentine's Day scene in the Chamber of Secrets book, which is amazing, by the way. So I think it would be quite cool to explore what they would do at Hogwarts for Bonfire Night. Presumably, it would be outside in the grounds, and being witches and wizards, they could probably get a huge fire going with minimal effort, right? Now, I think arranging the annual Hogwarts bonfire seems kind of like the sort of thing that Hagrid would be responsible for, doesn't it? Maybe this is a rare occasion when Dumbledore gives him permission to use his magical umbrella to get a huge bonfire going. Woo! Go Hagrid! Or maybe him and Filch do it together and bicker about it. Now, we know from some of the Harry Potter films and books that magical fireworks are way superior to Muggle ones, and this would surely be a perfect opportunity for us to see Dr. Filibuster's fabulous wet start no heat fireworks in action. That is a mouthful. Maybe Dumbledore gives the Weasley twins permission to manage the firework display on Bonfire Night. It definitely seems like the sort of thing that they would want to do, and probably take the opportunity to sell some of their own products on the side. But what about music? Now I'm thinking there's definitely got to be music involved. Perhaps some sort of folk music from local bands, or maybe the infamous singing sorceress Celestina Warbeck, who is mentioned a few times in the books, comes and treats everyone to a few of her legendary bangers. I reckon that when Hagrid has had a few too many ales, he definitely gets up on stage and starts singing some good old school wizarding ballads. Much to the disapproval of Professor McGonagall, of course, who is probably standing stiffly in the corner sipping a sherry. A sherry definitely seems like her sort of beverage. In terms of food, I think it would be fun if there's lots of little stalls, just like how there would be at a Muggle bonfire night, with representatives from all the different small businesses from Hogsmeade coming to sell pumpkin pasties, cauldron cakes and burgers. Maybe even a little stall from the Leaky Cauldron for the teachers to get a little bit tipsy. Imagine if one year, as a treat, Dumbledore buys all the teachers shots of fire whiskey on the house, and Snape takes it too far and ends up getting hammered and dancing on the stage. I reckon Snape has got loads of little hidden talents, like maybe he's secretly really good at ballet, or he ends up getting off with Professor Sprout. I think a bit of romance is exactly what Snape needs in his life, to finally move on from Lily. Anyway, so I've gone on a bit of a tangent, but the point being is that doing Bonfire Night at Hogwarts opens up a world of possibilities. So, the time of the Guy Fawkes gunpowder plot that I was talking about before was actually one of the most popular times in the UK for witch burning. If you remember, we said that the gunpowder plot was on the 5th of November in the year 1605. Well, between 1550 and 1650, it's estimated that between 3,000 and 4,000 people were executed for witchcraft in Scotland alone. Now, isn't that mental? A significant number of the executions that were done in Scotland were believed to have been done by burning at the stake. So it's possible that the magical community used Bonfire Night as a way to commemorate any real witches that died at this time. Or alternatively, we know from the first chapter of the Prisoner of Azkaban book that many real witches that were caught at the time of the witch burnings would simply cast a flame freezing charm whilst they were being burned, which meant that the flames would feel like a gentle tickling sensation instead of a burning heat. Apparently, they even found it amusing and would pretend to writhe in agony to entertain the watching muggles. We even learned that a witch called Wendelin the Weird enjoyed the sensation so much that she allowed herself to be captured and burnt by muggles 47 times in different disguises. An interesting way to spend your weekend, but each to their own, I suppose. By the way, if you do not remember this chapter in the book, then definitely go back and read it because it's iconic. So maybe witches and wizards even reclaimed Bonfire Night as a celebration of the fact that they were too smart for the muggles at the time. God knows. Either way, Bonfire Night would be brilliant to see at Hogwarts. Now, we've been told that the HBO series will be a true to the books rendition, but I don't know how much license to be creative and go off books the writers will therefore have. I mean, my main qualm with the films is that they miss out loads from the books. So, as long as the HBO series don't miss anything out from the books, then I personally think it would be really cool if they did add a little bit of stuff in that's not in the books. Nothing too big or plot changing, just little like interactions and reading between the lines stuff. Like Bonfire Night. Anyway, so that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed my crazy ramblings, then give the video a like and comment any ideas that you have on what you think Bonfire Night will be like at Hogwarts, and subscribe to the channel for more.